Hello, and welcome to another edition of Mama's Got Style, how upgrading your look will elevate your business, get you high-paying clients, and increase the fun factor in your life. Today, we're talking to Tehsuan Glover. Hello, Tehsuan.
Hello.
Is it Tehsuan or Tehsuan?
Tehsuan.
Tehsuan. Okay. Sorry, I don't like butchering people's names. It takes me a couple times sometimes, but here we go.
Yep.
But thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about your business and how you got into the world of creative graphics and marketing and advertising?
Sure. So the name of the company is Studio Creative Group. We're a boutique creative agency, and we operate as a cohort. So what we identified was that there were a number of creative entrepreneurs, designers, photographers, videographers, creative writers who are all independent and thrive best in an independent environment. So we figured, why don't we create a network as opposed to trying to hire everyone under us?
Right.
Access and, utilize each other's talents and skills and whatnot wherever available. My background in this industry largely comes from working in the advertising production field. So I was a print producer for a creative agency out of London. And they, decided to branch out into the US and open up an office here. At the time, I was working in the mailroom at a large liquor distributor called Seagram, which is no longer in existence.
Right.
But Seagram is where, at the time, they were distributing, obviously, Seagram's gin and Seagram's vodka and Jameson and Absolute Vodka and a bunch of other brands.
Wow.
And this agency came in, and Seagram was a client of theirs. So that's how we got introduced. They actually occupied office space in the building. So as I'm delivering the mail, and I'm this, 20-year-old young Black man, and I don't dress like I work in the mailroom, and I don't dress like anybody else in the corporate setting. I dress professionally, of course, but I didn't dress like a drone, I'll say.
Right.
So that helped me very much in terms of, meeting new people, building relationships, and people's curiosity being piqued about who I am and what it is that I do. Eventually, they decided they wanted to hire me. So I went to work for them, and that's where I got my start in advertising. And I really, really gained so very much in that time that I worked with them. I was at TAG for 6 years. And I because they were this offshoot of this large operation in London, this small New York outpost got to operate very entrepreneurially with the protection of, the large company back in London.
Right.
So it really afforded me a lot of wonderful liberties that I still carry with me today.
That's really awesome. So you're a true testament of dress for the job you want, not the one that you have, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't think about it like that. Like, oh, I'm just in the mailroom. I'm just, But no, you're not going to always be in the mailroom. So you got to dress like you're moving out of the mailroom.
Right. Absolutely. And it's even aside from the opportunity I got to work for TAG there, I still met and maintained relationships with a lot of people who I met back then. I'm the vice president for Absolute Vodka was a Black man named Carl Horton. And I got to, meet his team and got very familiar with him and his team and his assistants and whatnot. And I still maintain relationships with them to this day, even though, we never worked together since then. But the fact that they were interested enough in me just because of how I presented myself and how I carried myself, I think it does speak volumes to that point.
Right. And I always say not sometimes, I say it a lot, but men are usually easier to work with when it comes to helping them with their style. Because if you tell a man, hey, if you dress consistently and behave professionally in a consistent way, it's going to get you the girl, the contract, the job, the whatever. They're just like, sign me up. It's like A to B to them. They get the concept right away. Whereas with women, it's more of like a journey because they have some emotional things with their clothes and can I fit back into something I had like 10 years ago? When it's just like, just buy a pair of pants that fit you today and just move on and do
Right.
great things from there. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So we're just
Yeah,
wired different.
I'm sure it's generally much more of a challenge for women to dress in a way that would encourage others to empower them. Like you can tell a guy to dress in a way that, if you do this, other people will find you interesting and want to empower you in one way or another.
Right.
It doesn't as easily apply across to women. Not
Yeah.
nearly.
And I hope we can change that, or at least shed some light on the, the differences and why, or just make it obvious to them as to how that can benefit them in their life. Yeah. So what was your biggest challenge when you were building your business, and even now, but was there a specific time where you had a really tough challenge, and then once you overcame it, it kind of catapulted you to a certain place?
So I know what the biggest challenge is, and fortunately it hasn't really been something that has caused like pain to the business or hasn't caused the business to struggle. It's more, my own personal pain point.
Right.
But the challenge has been learning to relinquish my perceived control of the timing of it all. So I want to grow and progress and build the business and scale. And I want to scale. And I don't expect to scale tomorrow, but I do want to be scaled in as soon as possible.
Right.
Like I don't want a 20-year journey.
Right.
Who really ever does?
Right.
Not a journey to get to where you want to be. Of course, we all are happy to have a legacy over time and build up, and build relationships and build a business and whatnot. And that, of course, will take decades and decades, and I'm happy for that. Right. But I don't want it to be 2038 before I'm there.
Right.
So I've learned very recently to let go of that perceived control over that.
Right.
It's futile, for one.
Yeah, it's true.
And I have so many other more important things to focus on, and so many other things that I could be enjoying if I refocus my attention from that. Right.
Just learning to enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
As things unfold. Not that you don't do things to, get your business where it needs to be and things like that, but stop saying I have to be at this point in 5 years. I have to be at this point in 10 years. You have goals, but at the same time, it's I'm a big believer that God is putting you where you need to be when you need to be there. If you haven't gotten there yet, you're not ready for it yet, or maybe even if you think you are, you want it. But yeah, I'm learning the same thing. Trust. Yeah.
And it's we're at the kickoff of this year still, and we've just kind of we're still hearing people talk about this is the year for such and such for me, or this is the year that I do this or I do that, and those kind of things are really, that mentality really, I think, indicates these wish lists that we like to articulate as if they're goals,
right?
But if they were really goals, then they would just be about today. Today I'm going to do this, which will bring me closer to where I want to be.
Right. One step at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that. So how do you think that style shows up in business, as in people's marketing, in their website, in their digital advertising, or all of that? How does that show up even there?
I think style absolutely shows up. Number one, if we take it down to the bare bones of it all, any business is trying to reach, attract, and convert a specific demographic of the audience. So style is automatically at play in that.
Right.
You're speaking a certain language, or you're speaking and using certain things that attract certain people.
Right.
And in this particular day and age, when so much of the digital space is based in imagery, whether it be photos or video, and even in the written word, style is so very important. I think about memes, even little memes that we see on social media.
Right.
The reason why memes are so popular is because they're so articulate.
Right.
The way they make the point, like there's style in that.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
a matter of fact thing.
yeah, that's
You know?
true.
And then when you look at if we were to talk about fashion, high fashion brands and their branding, um, the very one of the things that they tend to hold on to is minimalist presentations. So in the runway shows and in certain collections and whatnot, you might see them flourish out into more involved and decorative but Tiffany blue is Tiffany blue.
Right.
The Fendi logo or the Gucci logo, the brand in and of itself isn't going to vary very much.
Right.
You know what I mean? So their style is very clear and succinct and articulated in a very purposeful way. And I think that just carries itself, across business in general, especially in this digital space.
Right. So when someone comes to you and they want you to help them with their website and their social media and things like that, like what's the first thing that you ask them as far as how they want to present themselves in their marketing and their branding and all of that?
So one of the first things I'll tend to ask is what do they actually do? So many times, whether it be independent, entrepreneurs or small businesses, or even larger institutions, their perception of who they would like to be and how they would like to be perceived overshadows their self-awareness of who they actually are and what they could actually back up.
Right.
So the presentation of on your website or your social media, it has the potential and it should remain as authentic as possible to who you are. And whether you're an independent entrepreneur or a small business or a larger institution, you are a number of things.
Right.
We're not singular, linear thing. Like we are multifaceted, multidimensional, dynamic people and businesses.
Right.
And without that understanding of who exactly we are or what exactly we do, sometimes potential clients want to be something that they aren't because it's attractive.
Right.
And I think that's something that comes back to just us as individuals. A lot of times people want to be what they are not because it's attractive.
Right.
That's why people follow trends, because it gets them closer to being attractive.
Right.
Than just being, independently who they are and what they are.
Right. And we see a lot of that with, Kim Kardashians of the world and everybody trying to dress and look and act like these people, which, there's only that one person. You can't,
Right.
You can maybe take some aspects of things that are like that person, but you can't be her. And you shouldn't want, like, you're a uniquely created person who has their own thoughts, dreams, everything. So it's nice to find a muse or, somebody that inspires you. But like when you have a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever seen that show, Botched, and you see a lot of these people who have literally had so much plastic surgery to really physically look like some of these people.
Right.
Like, insane. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, but I don't want to go there because I don't want anybody sending me hate mail, but like, that's a lot. That's a lot going on there. So, I just feel like, if you focus so much all of that attention on just expounding who you are as a human being and figuring that out and what you were placed to do here and what your gift and talent is to the world, then yeah, I think that you would probably be a little bit more happier and probably have a lot more money in your pocket.
Right. and the people that are generally used as the picture of whatever, the picture of beauty, the picture of innovation, the picture of charisma, they're not really that much more. They're not more special than anyone else. Like, I know it sounds politically correct, but it's true. Like, no one is more special than anyone else.
No.
But if we look at the whoever it is, if it's the Kardashians, if it's the Steve Jobs and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the, look at these people as, the representation of brilliance and of beauty and of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, we don't give ourselves the opportunity even to explore what we could create.
Right.
Because we're just mapping ourselves to the destination,
mm-hmm.
or the perceived destination.
And I think that a lot of people, well, basically all that Steve Jobs did was figure out what he did great. You know what I mean?
He was relentless about that, though.
Yeah. So anybody can, if you apply that same inspiration and dedication to yourself, you have no idea what you could create. You could be not bigger than him per se, because it's not about measurement, but you could have something that creates or gives to the world in a whole different way that's just as good or maybe bigger than him in some kind of way. Like it's not a contest, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we all have a gift. We all have something. And there's so much untapped potential in each one of us that, I think they say we only use like less than 10% of our brain power, whatever it is. But can you imagine what we could create if we could tap into the rest of that 90%? That would be insane, and amazing at the same time. The world would be just a creatively beautiful place. Not that it's not, but it would just be even more of, there'd be less of the violence and the this and the that, because everybody would be using themselves in a productive, positive way that would end up benefiting everyone much better. We can dream. What can we say? So how did you find your style?
Exploring.
Yeah.
I grew up through the 80s and my adolescent years into the 90s and whatnot. And so hip hop was very much an influence on me style wise.
Right.
The 80s, I think, get a bad rap for producing some really, really bad style. Which it did, but it didn't only produce bad style. I think some really fun and creative and expressive and innovative things came out of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And
music is the best in the 80s.
Yeah. I think let's not even get into that. But I think the 80s did some really fantastic things. And including in music, including art, fine art.
Yep.
So, for whatever reason, so my mom has a very good sense of style. My mom doesn't walk out of the house every day, like it's a runway show.
Right.
She has the sense of style. My father didn't have as much of a sense of style. He was much more of a simple man, and he was comfortable in his work clothes and didn't need to present anything to anyone, didn't feel the need to do that.
Right.
So I think what I got from their examples was understanding that it's not a necessity.
Right.
I don't have to look any way for anybody. And because I look a certain way doesn't but if I come to you casually, that doesn't mean that I don't have, black tie, regal aesthetic in my catalog.
Right.
And then, other people that I met and, whether they took me under their wing or whatnot, showed me other things. And I think it was just being able to identify authenticity in other people throughout time, whether it was people who were always, dressed up, or people who were always casual, or people who were always funky and expressive and artistic and, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I just got to explore those things, and and in that way I got to find my style. And I'm just, I really, I think style is really something that we kind of try to box as a specific thing, as a singular thing.
Right.
We like people to look like they looked the last time we saw them and liked them.
Right.
So when whoever, whether it's someone celebrity or somebody at work or somebody we see in the street, whatever, if we see somebody look good one day, we want them to look good in that way the next time we see them.
Exactly. We've come to expect them to look a certain way.
Yeah. So
when they don't, it's like, what's going on?
Right.
Yeah. So did you have any particular men muses, as it were, like whose style you really liked that you kind of were inspiration for your own style?
Particular men?
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I always feel like what's his name? Denzel had some pretty good style.
Mhm.
Who else? David Beckham, I always think has great style. Even Daniel Craig's, just
Mhm.
they're more modern now. Of course, they weren't necessarily doing that back in the '80s, the '90s, but
Yeah. I think so. So in my younger years, in my formative years, I was definitely influenced by like the Rat Pack and those guys when it came to suits.
hmm
Even Dick Tracy characters and that whole aesthetic. Um, Hip hop definitely. I was inspired by Rakim and LL Cool J,
hmm
Run DMC, um, and even like now when I look back at those the images of guys in the early '80s, a lot of times like they weren't dressed in a way that we would consider hip hop today.
No.
You know what I mean? So, you know, Run DMC wearing the fedoras and um, track suits and these things, like they were athletic things or the way grown men would dress.
hmm
We just wore it with sneakers and jeans, or Run
Right.
DMC, I should say, wore it with sneakers and jeans, but they weren't particularly hip hop things. Hip hop just kind of swallowed it up
Right.
into itself. But I was much more inspired by people that I knew personally than people that I saw on television or in the movies.
That's good. Yeah, that's good to have real people.
Yeah. Because then I get to see that it's real. Like it's not your stylist. It's not the role you're in the movie. It's
Yeah.
not the music video. Like that's that person's style.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. And now when everything is about celebrities and I think it was the Vogue lady who was the first to put celebrities on the cover of Vogue, Anna
Yeah.
Wintour, and now because it was supermodels for years, and
Right.
it's like all about celebrities, and it's almost like you get sick of it in a way because it's like that's not a real. I mean, not to say they're not real people, but they're not like everyday people per se. you know,
Right.
they're on a different level of how they would dress or what they actually get paid to show, like some of the bloggers and that huge
Right.
influx of that's happening too. I think I talked about that with somebody else the other day. It's like with these bloggers, you don't even know that that's their style. They're being paid to wear a lot of this stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's diluted as to who are you really? What is your real style? And can we even trust that what you're presenting on your Instagram is you? Like
Right.
that's not what you're being paid to do.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's really awesome that you had real people because I
Yeah.
think that tends to be more authentic in who you become and how you present yourself and not based on some picture of what we think it's supposed to be because
Yeah.
Kylie Jenner's wearing it or whatever.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
But so what are your 5 go-to items in your style or grooming routine that you have every day?
So I don't know that I have a solid 5 daily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm going to include bathing. I'm going to include brushing my teeth. Um,
Yes, those are
I,
necessities.
yeah, I feel like those are just as important as whatever product or whatever other routine.
Yes, and everyone around you will thank you, I would imagine,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of not necessarily a given because I don't know, maybe everybody doesn't do it every day.
Right.
We assume that, we hope that, but one
Yeah.
ride on the subway might cure you of that thought. I don't know.
Completely debunk that. Yeah. I spend enough time on subways to know that everybody does not do it every day.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
true.
but I think so I can't say that I have a you know daily routine of things that I tend to do, but I do have a tendency over time to try to reinvent my closet or reinterpret the things that are in my closet,
hmm
and reintroduce them in different outfits. It's I don't want it's really it's dangerous, I think, when you fall into the comfort of this shirt goes well with this vest and these glasses, and I know if I step out, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then I never figure out what other ways I could be wearing these glasses or the vest or the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And if I only ever step out like that, I might as well be wearing a uniform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do like to reinterpret the items that are in my closet and find new ways to wear them and put things together.
That's a good thought too, because how I usually work with clients is, I recommend anyway, going through your closet every 4 months, especially if you live in a seasonal climate, but even if you don't, because, we just accumulate things over time. And if we don't know what's in the closet to begin with, that's what I always advise you start with, going through it, trying things on, and then feeling, how does it feel? Because something you loved 6 months ago, you could put it on today and be like,
Right.
But if it's just sitting in your closet, you don't even know that, like, because you've been putting more stuff in there, and then you kind of love that item more, and you really only wear like 20% of your closet 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That means we really don't need a ton of stuff, unless some of that is seasonal, like we only wear this in the winter, or we only wear that in the spring, summer, or whatever. So really, nobody needs an insane closet, and unless you're a performer and that's your job. You have to wear a different outfit 3 times a day. Okay, well, I get that. But the average of us are not that way. So, it just behooves you to have less stuff that's used better, utilized better, than having this ton of crap. And then every time you go in the closet, you're like, I don't have anything to wear.
Exactly.
Because you're not inspired by it,
Yeah. And that's what's usually the case. I find people who feel like they don't have anything to wear have the most stuff that they don't touch. Sitting in the closet. They're just wearing the same thing over and over.
Yep. Yeah. I had one lady, literally, I swear she had maybe 20 black shirts. And I'm like, really? Do you need 20 black shirts? I'm pretty sure the answer is no. You might wear 2, maybe, let's just say. But depending on the style and whatever. But it's like, it's such insanity, and we don't even think about it because that's just our life. And we're just like, it just gets thrown in the closet, and it's tucked in the back, and things are falling down, and you don't know what's going on. So, and I think that just helps you even clear your mind in a sense. Like, if you've ever heard that book, The Magic Art of Tidying Up, or something like that, by Marie, she just talks about how being organized in your closet and in your life, akin to being organized in your mind and your thoughts and everything like that. Because if you just have all this stuff that you don't need, and it's just cluttered and it's blah, then you kind of feel like that. And I know for me, it's like that. I can't sit down to a desk and work if there's just stuff everywhere. I have to clean it up, get it organized, and then I can work.
Right.
So it applies not to just your closet; it applies to your whole life, for sure.
Definitely.
So, how has your style changed over time? I didn't ask you how old you were, so.
So I'm 38.
Okay.
And over time, my style has changed in that, I've become less and less influenced by trend. And my style is changing because in that it has become more personal. And I think other things, style-wise, are generally it's just an evolution. I don't know that it's trying to leave anything behind particularly. It's just, over time, interests and experiences and influences all change, and they, contribute to my evolution. So, things change, I and then also, like, because I'm not required to wear anything every day. Like, I don't have a requirement. I don't have any professional expectation. I don't have to wear a uniform. I don't have to wear a, Oxford anything or anything, like that. So,
you get to decide and design what you want it to be.
Yeah. And then it's like, I'm also, I'm buying clothes, and the clothes that I wear, they're, I buy clothes that will last for a good while. Fortunately for me, my body has not fluctuated extremely. But, after a while, I just get tired of wearing things. So, or they wear it down, like, and I buy new things.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I talk to people about is style's not just about what you put on your body. It's about where you've been, where you've traveled, the food you love, the music that just makes your heart sing every time you listen to it. It makes you want to dance. It's like it's a kind of an encumbrance of all the experiences and everything and who you are versus just, oh, I just put this on. No, there was a lot that went into that, even if you don't realize it.
Right.
That encompasses the person that you are. And it's really good that you have that understanding, because a lot of people are not that aware, and that's like my mission, to make sure that people understand that, because innately you feel it, but you don't know that
Right.
you don't understand the interpretation of why you chose that
Right.
earring or those pair of glasses or whatever that you have on. But yeah, it's that's pretty cool.
It's all there.
So what do you do for fun?
I dance.
That's awesome. Are you in any relation to Savion?
Savion is a good friend of mine.
Yeah. You just happen to have the same last name. That's pretty cool.
Well, not just happen to. There is a bit of a story to it, but it's not we're not related by blood. We are related by choice.
Oh, okay.
But my father was married to his mother.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And they got divorced, and then, years later, or whatever, after they got divorced and were no longer together, she had Savion with someone else. But her last name was Glover because of my father.
Married to your father. Oh, interesting. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So do you ever get together and dance with him?
Sometimes.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We'll go out, but it's hard to say that you get together and dance with Savion. It's like saying, I try not to put myself in the same space of the greatest living anything.
Right.
And I do believe he's the greatest living dancer in the world.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, but you have the potential to be just that too. You know what I mean? If you really practice, like some people just have it, like him, natural skill. Like he can wake up doing that, and it doesn't, expend any energy from him, right? Like, or you have people who are book smart and they can just go, they don't even have to study. They just know something, or they can memorize it or whatever. And others have to really work at it, but we can be just as good if we put in that effort. Like
I would just need a time machine. That's all.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll come up with that at some point. But I don't know that will work, because then all the world would be all messed up if people could just jump back and change things and mess around. Like, I think that's why God's like, no, no, just go forward. That's it. You ain't no going back.
Right.
Because then we'd have no history then. It would be all jacked up.
The havoc we would wreak.
Pretty much. But that's cool. I mean, at least you guys managed to have a friendship. So even out of all of that.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice to any of the ladies and gentlemen out there listening about how you present yourself, like even while you're figuring out how you digitally are presenting yourself, even as a business person, building your business? Because I don't think that people really get that you're the face of your business, and people see you and how you present yourself before they even know listen to what's coming out of your mouth. They're like looking at you like, oh, okay, he looks like he's got it together, or not, or whatever. So and then going forth from that, it kind of depends on, not that it all lays on how you look, but I think that's a big part. And then plus the part of you knowing what you're talking about and how you can help them, and how that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think I think a piece of advice I would give is, number one, just to be conscious of how you're presenting yourself. Like, don't walk out not knowing what you look like.
Right.
That's a very unfortunately common thing. People walk out and didn't give themselves a good look in the mirror. So know what you look like, and know what it is you're trying to articulate.
Right.
So in the same way, like you were talking about it earlier about, you don't just put something on and it's just cause that's what I got. Like, there were a lot of influences and a lot of experiences and things that informed even your decision to purchase that item. So once you put it on with whatever else you put on, however you put it on, like, you articulating something, you should know what that is, and not be on the tail end of that. You should know that in advance.
Right.
I'm trying to project this. I'm trying to articulate this.
Right.
Does my ensemble do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that people's clothes and outfits tell a story. And
Mm-hmm.
so what story are you telling them?
Right.
I just woke up and I rolled out of bed.
Right.
Sometimes that's,
Mm-hmm.
especially with a lot of the college students, it's like, if you go on campus, it's like, did you just wear your pajamas to class? I mean, what's
Right.
going
Right.
on
Right.
here?
And I don't think like I don't think you don't. I'm sorry. I don't think that you have to articulate something to be particularly appealing
Right,
to the other person. You just have to know what it is you're articulating. So
right.
sometimes, uh, I'm an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
but I tend to work with a lot of people who are not entrepreneurs.
Right.
So if my client is, an organization or an institution or a large company or small business,
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with other people who are employees of that company, of that business.
Right.
They have expectations that I don't have,
Mm-hmm.
and I have freedoms that they don't have.
Right.
But the freedoms that I have and the expectations that I don't have
Mm-hmm.
are part of what allow me to do what I do very well. If I was, if I was bogged down by expectations to look a certain way and to present a certain thing and to have a certain messaging
Mm-hmm.
that someone else is messaging, then I wouldn't be doing what I do well.
Right.
So sometimes when I go out, if it's to a meeting or to an event or whatnot, my articulated message is that I am independent. And in my independence, I can contribute more value than
Mm-hmm.
if I was not independent.
Got that.
And it's not always received that way,
Right.
but I know what I'm saying. So if the question ever came up, what made you put that on? I have the answer for what made me put that on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I spent some time in Italy a few years back, and I did a lot of research around it because my great grandmother was Italian, but I didn't really get to speak with her much about it because she had Alzheimer's and died when I was in my early tweens or so. But I always felt that there was something more, like the way that she and from what I knew, her and then my grandmother, her daughter, just was so loving to people, like always made sure people ate when they came. So I started doing some research about it. And so they have this culture that's called La Bella Figura, which translated means the beautiful body, but it's not just about like the body and style and whatever. It's a system of culture of how you present yourself, and it's not just about. It's like I got dressed enough to present myself to you that I respect you, that I love you, even that I don't want to just show up looking crazy because whatever reason, and you see that even in the way that the police officers, their uniforms, everything is just very the furniture, the shoes, everything they do is done with the utmost of care of like how it's not just going to for them but for you too, whoever comes in contact with it.
Right.
And I think that in the United States we don't have that. It's just sort of a thought of like, oh, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to think about it, but people notice, they really do. And even if they never say anything to you, they notice. And so especially when you're a business owner or in your career or whatever you're doing, it's put that extra thought into it. It takes just as much time to dress messy or sloppy as it does to dress nice. So it takes extra thought. It takes a little more thought and care, obviously, to dress a little bit more precise. But at the same time, it benefits you in everything that you do and everything in your whole life. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So do you have anything coming up? Also, if you can tell us your website and some of your social media so everybody can find out about all the wonderful things you're up to in the world.
Sure. So I do have a couple of things coming up. One is actually this Saturday. I'm hosting a brunch and day party at a friend of mine's club, and I'm very excited about that. We're gonna have a fun Saturday. So if you happen to be in the Newark area, Newark, New Jersey area, there's gonna be an awful lot of fun at Catalyst Lounge at 29 Wainwright Street. If you're available to be there, you should be there.
And this is Saturday or Friday or
coming Saturday?
Saturday. And what time?
Brunch starts at 1:00.
1:00. Brunch is the best. Like, it's just the best.
The best.
So is there any tickets or anything, or you just show up, or what do you,
tickets? Yeah, the tickets, you can get tickets online, and you can get tickets when you show up. But you can, find me at TehsuanGlover.com, and that's spelled TEHSUANGLOVER, not at all phonetic.
Yes.
And my social media is always the same, Tehsuan Glover. And then the following Friday, we're hosting some people to go out to see the Black Panther movie, and then we're going to go to a Black-owned restaurant for sort of an after party for that.
Nice. So yes, we'll have those links available so that people can go to them, as well as your social media, so they can find you. And if they need help getting all of their branding and everything in order, you are the one to go to figure that out.
I'll be happy to help.
Yay. So is there anything else that you want to share with the viewers before we wrap it up?
No, I want to, say thank you to you, Kyra, for giving me the opportunity to sit down and talk with you and share these little nuggets and experiences and whatnot. And I just, to the audience, I would just say, I would absolutely like to leave a message of, learn yourself and learn that you don't have to be anything, even what you've been. And that's about it.
That's an awesome thought. You can always reinvent yourself. Madonna does it all the time. So you can be like Madonna or be like your own version of Madonna, but be you, be what you were created to be, and spend some time, like you said, figuring that out.
Yeah.
That it'll well be worth it. And the world needs that light, whatever you have to offer, for sure.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much. It's been awesome. You definitely provided some great information, even for me, for like things I didn't even think about. So that's always good.
Thank you so much.
I love to learn. It's just, an ongoing thing.
Yeah. So. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.